You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
Black and White sports fans, this is a follow-up video to a video I put up yesterday on Black and White Live. As you guys may already know, starting January the 15th, all NBA players that are not fully vaccinated will not be allowed to enter into Canada to play games in Toronto. Now, if you're a Toronto Raptors player, I guess essentially also you will not be able to play in any games at home in Toronto. Now, one thing that I kind of missed here in this story, and I felt like I should actually put it on this channel, it kind of goes a little bit deeper here because the NBA is actually going to be punishing players that have not received the jab. And if you are a foreign player that is here in the United States only temporary on a visa, if you make this error here that we're going to be talking about here in this video, essentially you will be banned from returning to the United States. Check this out over here on ESPN. NBA memo warns unvaccinated players in United States, Canada about cross-border travel. Okay, so let's read this. Any unvaccinated NBA player with temporary visa status, that is the key right there, who leaves the country will be unable to re-enter the United States, according to a memo obtained by ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski on Tuesday. Now, when I first read this, I was like, how in the world is the NBA actually going to be banning players from re-entering the United States? I missed the part about temporary visa status. So this only applies to non-U.S. citizens that are here just for their job. Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure that may only be a small, minute number of players, but you guys also got to remember here, the NBA is also changing the rules on fully vaccinated. To be fully vaccinated now, I believe this is actually coming up in the next month, if I'm not mistaken. To be considered fully vaccinated by NBA standards is you will have to have your booster. Okay. Now, I believe according to reports, roughly 60% of NBA players now have the booster jab. Now, it says here, for example, a player who is not vaccinated against COVID-19 would be unable to re-enter the United States after playing in Canada. Now, the same applies if an unvaccinated player travels outside the United States during NBA All-Star Weekend. Okay? Now, Canada, I don't even know how a player would actually get into Canada when Canada's already said, well, you got to show your papers to even get in here. But I guess, some kind of way, if a player was able to get into Canada, play a game, and then they find out that this player is a foreign player, non-U.S. citizen, I should say, and he doesn't have the jab, he's not going to be able to re-enter the United States. Essentially, he will be fired, and there's no telling when he'll actually be able to return to the U.S. However, also, they bring up All-Star Weekend here. Not even sure exactly what the All-Star game is this season, but if you're a foreign player, you're like, you know what? I'm not an All-Star this year. Let me go home to my home country, and then I'll return back. However, if that player does not have the jab or the booster, that player will not be allowed to re-enter the United States. So essentially, guys, the NBA has found a way to deport foreign players. I find this very, very funny, folks. I really do. The NBA informed teams on Tuesday that unvaccinated players will no longer be allowed to travel to Toronto to play games beginning January 15th, according to the memo. Teams are instructed to distribute the memo to all players by Friday. New Canadian law mandates that all visitors entering the country must be fully vaccinated. Under the law, anybody who meets the criteria for limited exceptions would be allowed entry into Canada, but would have to quarantine there for 14 days. Now, that doesn't really work well for NBA teams because when you go on a road trip to Canada to play the Raptors, that's just one game, and then you got to leave. There's no way in the world, an NBA player could actually quarantine for 14 days. Just would not work. Teams must furnish the league office with a list of unvaccinated players by Friday, the memo said. The NBA says 97% of its players are fully vaccinated, and sources told ESPN that more than 60% have received booster shots. So there you have it, guys. That is the NBA, the way they're operating. I'm pretty sure they didn't even run this by the NBA PA. At least I don't think they have. I don't know how the NBA PA feels about this. If a player in the United States only here on a temporary visa just to work, how do they feel about this player being barred from returning to the United States to play for his team? I mean, is this how the NBA is going to actually operate, finding and suspending players? Essentially, a player that doesn't have the jab is going to be suspended for, I guess, the entire season, or until the NBA says, you know what, we'll allow you to actually come back. But if a foreign player messes this up right here, essentially, his season is pretty much done. Maybe his NBA career is probably done as well. I'm not really sure. But what do you guys think of this? The NBA has essentially figured out a way to deport foreign players who leave the country. They're not going to allow them to actually come back unless they get the jab. So this is just another way for the NBA to force a mandate on foreign players without actually going through the NBA PA. So essentially, the only way a foreign unvaccinated player could return to the U.S. is to get fully jabbed up. I guess you have to get that overseas, or maybe, they'll work with the league to make that happen. I'm not really sure. That's just my thoughts on this. What do you guys think of this, black and white sports fans? The NBA is now playing Border Patrol. I find this really, really funny, guys. Very, very funny. Anyway, guys, let us know what you think about all this in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to Black and White Sports, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.